time now for our Monday morning quarterbacks. Another jobs report beats expectations, and the fallout includes more concerns from the Fed. And a new study comes out showing support for stricter gun laws, just as the NRA launches a new legal challenge. We want to get right into today's topics with the panelists, Democratic strategist Calvin Dark and Republican strategist Amy Tarkanian. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, in our first half here, let's talk about the jobs report. Really positive, much to the dismay, in a sense, really, to the Fed, because it shows that inflation isn't slowing down significantly. Job growth is, we're seeing job growth, wages are up. I want to start with you, Amy. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a bit confusing because we are actually at labor participation rate has gone down even below pre-pandemic levels. So even though it shows that we're pretty much stagnant as far as unemployment numbers, it seems to be if you take a compartment of certain industries. For example, the healthcare industry, we've seen a dramatic decrease. But if you look at hospitality, we've seen, a slight increase. So it's interesting to see how this current environment is affecting certain industries. Now, here where I live in the state of Nevada, we're still seeing empty shelves as well. And I do have one of my daughters who tried to get hired by at least a half dozen companies that have help wanted signs, and she has excellent grades. She's an excellent, personality for almost any type of job. And she finally was hired over the weekend. But it's interesting to see how there's not really a sense of urgency in some of these places of business to actually fill the jobs if people are willing to work.
Yeah, I want to go to you, Calvin, on that. It is a bit of a mixed bag, both in terms of what industries are leading the way, which ones are hurting. I believe retail isn't doing nearly as well as some other some other industries, rather. Biden is really looking at this and saying, hey, this means we're doing a great job. What do you make of this? Do you think that's a bit tone deaf, considering some of the challenges that are out there, particularly when it comes to inflation?
I don't think it's tone deaf. I think it's maybe a little bit over optimistic. It's kind of like my undergrad econ professor said, Calvin, it's complicated. And I think that's what the White House and the Biden administration are dealing with, because you have some indicators that, if taken alone, would say that our economy is soaring. Then you have others that would say the opposite. And I think what really fixes perception is, how do people feel in their lives? So even when they see these job reports and these numbers and these positive indicators, if they don't feel it, if all those factors don't come together to make people feel that they're economically better, it doesn't help them, and it doesn't help the perception that the Biden administration has really got everything under control for the economy.
Yeah, Americans tend to care about that day to day, and that inflation is what they're experiencing day to day in terms of their wallet and bank accounts. Let's move on to the second half now. This is an interesting case. It's coming out of Oregon. It's a new gun law that was voted on by voters. It was a slim majority, though. About 51% of voters approved this. It's a law that would require anyone purchasing a firearm to get a permit first, and it bans magazines holding more than 10 rounds. I want to stay with you, Calvin, on this. The NRA and other gun rights supporters are pushing back on this. This is as a poll is coming out showing a majority of both men and women are in favor of stricter gun laws. I mean, do you think we'll be seeing this across the country, despite perhaps what voters say, the NRA and others pushing against that?
I think we will, because I think even among those who want looser regulations or less regulations for guns, and those who want more, and we look at the crime situation happening in a lot of our cities, people want to do something, but they realize the proliferation of guns is at least part of the problem. I think we're going to continue to see that, but as happens all the time, I think we're going to have voices that might be smaller in number, but are louder than others, that are going to push the narrative that we need to loosen these gun control regulations. I think that that's a losing battle as we have more crime problems, but we'll have to see, because like every state is different. What's happening on the upper Northwest is definitely not what's happening in the Southeast. So Absolutely. We'll have to see.
Amy, we got to wrap here, but I want to give you the final word.
Sure. Well, I think when you see states like New York and Hawaii that they're trying to put more restrictions on the CCW, the fact that you're not allowed to carry in places of worship, when really we've seen an uptick in attacks at places of worship, that's the place that you should be able to carry. Or on public transportation, when you look at the subway system, you should be allowed to carry. And I agree, though, I think it's great to actually require maybe some classes with that purchase.
Yeah, there's also a background check that they do as well. But that debate, as we know, a passionate one that is ongoing. And of course, it's made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Democratic strategist Calvin Dark and Republican strategist Amy Tarkanian, thanks for joining us this morning, y'all. Enjoy your week.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.